Good day, everyone. Eric from Helps Nonprofit Law Firm, Helps Law Firm for Seniors. Hope you can hear me okay. Welcome to Helps YouTube, April 28th, 2025. Glad to have you here. My name's Eric. I'm the lead attorney for Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and disabled persons who owe debt they can't afford to pay. And we educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. If you're a senior struggling with debt, listen to this channel, listen to what we have to say. I'm pretty sure we can help you. I see Kat. I will call you after YouTube Live today. Okay, I didn't get a chance to call you Friday, so we'll call and we'll talk. Okay. Um, so I'll start off with reading something, a note that a prospective client sent us, and it kind of sums up what Helps does. Okay. He says, this person says, for 2 years I have struggled to pay back credit card debt. The amount of $434 is taken out of my small Social Security check to be applied to these debts. This guy's calling us from, I think, South Carolina, or he wrote us from South Carolina. The only income I have is Social Security, $14.83 a month, and a pension from working for a job in South Carolina that amounts to $311. So he's got a little bit less than $1,800 a month, of which over $400 being taken out to pay debt. So he says it's been roughly 2 years. It seems it will take another 2 years. I'm working with National Debt, Get My attorneys. They take that money out of my bank account and deposit it into a personal bank account where they apply certain amounts to various credit card companies. I am really stressed because every month I do not have enough money to buy enough groceries, so I'm hungry a lot. And it's hard to find money for things I need. I've just moved from a townhome owned by my daughter to live with an older daughter in Georgia. I am 78 years old. I'm scared, and he's worried about Social Security, which he doesn't need to worry about, but we'll talk about that in a second. I hope you can help me, he says. We can, and we can help you too. I received a notice that one of the creditors is going to sue me for one of my credit cards, and they don't want to wait in line to get paid because of this money I'm paying. I just need to be able to get on with my life, and I never want to have another credit card ever. Can you please help me? Yeah, we can help you. What do I need to do with this law firm in New York that I'm paying $434 a month to, who handles all the credit, and they also charge me fees? The latest lawsuit probably is on its way and will be filed against me. I learned about you on YouTube, okay? And I wish I had known about you 2 years older. And it would seem that this GetMed law firm, being filled with liars, would know that a senior citizen does not have to pay when they're barely getting by. Yeah, you'd think that. They should know that. And shameful that they didn't tell you that. It's only credit card debt, and I hate credit cards. I was born and raised by parents who did not have those. We had to live on what my dad made, pay cash, so I don't get along well with credit. I think of it as cash, and it's not. I do not have any credit cards any longer for the last 2 years. I'm paying. You can help me. I mainly need to know what to do about GetMail. They have to debit my account from that special bank account, my name, and since it's mine, I have to give them my okay. I just need to know if they can do anything to me if I want to stop. They can't. No, you can stop paying this law firm that's helping you with these debts. Got to understand, okay? I'm 76, 74. I'm sorry. I've been an attorney now for 46 years, a long time. Probably filed between 30 and 40,000 bankruptcies before I started Helps. And what Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors who owe debt. And we represent seniors under a law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That law provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can't bother you anymore. They can't call you or send you demand letters. They have to leave you alone. You can put questions in the chat feature, and I'll get to those. And the law also provides that your Social Security is protected. So is your pension. It's available for your needs. It doesn't need to be used to pay debt you can't afford to pay. And even if someone were to sue you and try, they can't garnish your Social Security, they can't garnish your pension. And then there was a federal law put into effect in 2012 that instructs banks that if they get a writ of garnishment, like someone sues you and they get a judgment and they try to garnish your bank account, twice the amount of your federal benefit deposited in your bank account is automatically protected by your bank from garnishment, regardless if there happens to be other funds in there. If there's commingled funds, it doesn't matter. Twice the amount of federal benefits deposited in your bank account is protected from garnishment. I explained that to a guy today, and and he had asked me, he says, well, what about if there's commingled funds? And I repeated it a couple times. It says, it doesn't matter if there's other funds in your account. If a bank got garnished, they look at where your money came from. And if it came from a federal source like Social Security, they times the amount you get each month times two. That amount is protected. If you get $1,500 a month, $3,000 is protected automatically by your bank from garnishment without you having to lift a little finger. They can't do anything. Um, Now, if you happen to have more than that in there, the excess could be held up, but you could file what's called a challenge to garnishment or claim exemption to get that release. But if you're careful and just keep the balance less than twice the amount of your Social Security you get each month, then it's completely protected. So what are we going to tell this sweet gentleman from, I don't know where he's from, probably South Carolina? He can stop paying this law firm. And shame on that law firm for not letting him know that his income was protected and he didn't need to pay the debt. For the last 2 years, he's been going hungry to pay this debt. Lawmakers protected this income for you because they didn't want that to happen. They wanted you to have enough money for your food and your medicine and your heat and your needs, and it's protected. Okay, you can stop paying that. You can call them on the phone, stop it. You can put a stop payment on the amount. You don't need to pay that $400+ to that debt management company, which happens to be a law firm. There's a lot of debt management companies. There's some for-profit and non-profit. Neither one of them, with rare exceptions, will tell our senior, by the way, you don't need our help because your income is protected. No one can take it. Why don't they do that? If they told you that, you wouldn't enroll with them and they wouldn't make money from you. And for a lot of these companies, nearly a third of their business comes from seniors. Okay? So, yeah, you don't need to, the guy doesn't need to pay him. And when he says things like, I'm scared, he doesn't need to be scared. And he's scared the new administration is going to stop our Social Security. No, it's not going to happen. Social Security is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to do a video later on this afternoon with Senior Living on Social Security and how it's protected, and it's not going anywhere. Okay. Now I know that they're trying to clean up any potential fraud with Social Security, but I don't think and they may be making some mistakes all the way. But Social Security is not going to be affected. It's going to be okay. Yeah, and you don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to feel bad. I'm going to tell this guy. We've probably already called him. He looks like he reached out to this weekend. But, when I read that, so I am hungry a lot, and it's hard to find money for things I need. That's why Congress protected these monies. They don't want you going without your food or medicine or your heat or your air conditioning. If it's, they don't want you going without your needs. Money is safe. It's okay. Well, and you can contact helps. What we do is when people call us on the phone, we interview them. We ask them about, where you live. Are you married? Um, what's your age? Basic questions. Are you being sued? Are you buying a home or renting? If you're buying a home, how much do you own it? What's it worth? Are you buying a car? Do you own a car? We ask basic questions, and has anyone filed a lawsuit against you? And then how much you owe approximately in debt, credit card, and medical bills. And then we're going to read you what we do, and then you can enroll with helps. The cost is minimal or in some instances free. We don't want you to worry, okay? And you can call as much as you need to. When a person enrolls in helps, you're a client literally forever. I talked to a guy this morning, and he admitted to me that, and he may be listening right now because I told him I might talk about you. And he was a natural born worrywart. Okay. And I don't think I told him this, but I'll tell him that now. Helps was founded for you. Okay. Helps was started in 2012. I was a younger man then, but I talked to a lot of seniors, and a lot of them had debt they couldn't afford to pay, and they couldn't afford bankruptcy. They didn't need bankruptcy, but if they stopped paying their debt, creditors would call and harass them. So there's this federal law that provides if you're represented by an attorney, creditors have to leave you alone, and that's why Helps was started. So yeah, we help people, and especially if you're worried. And I told them you can call us whenever you want. If you're, I don't. My pet peeve if someone calls and says, Eric, I know you guys are really busy. I didn't want to bother you. No, you call us. So you don't need to worry. So I'll try to deal with some of the questions here that we've got. Okay. I feel this pain. I wasted 5+ years with a debt consolidation. That's insane. You know, they advertise a lot, and it is a fact of life that most of them, the vast majority, don't separate seniors from other people. Now, they may do good if you're younger and you have a job, and they might be able to help you. But if you're an older person, they don't tell you the basic fact that your income is protected. Yeah. Can we sue these debt consolidation companies for not telling us about our Social Security? Someday that's going to happen. Okay. Helps. We got lots of clients, but we're still relatively small. Someday I think Helps will be as big as AARP relatively. Okay. Because, AARP, American Association for Retired People, they help seniors that have money. About half seniors are doing okay. The other half are within close to 200% of the poverty line or less. And they're the ones struggling. And there's no organization that helps those seniors. And that's what Helps does. That's what we do. We help those seniors, and they need help. Okay. Yeah, I just saw a video about a couple in Florida who are 66 and 77 and are still working partially pay off their debt. Sad that they don't know about Helps. Well, yeah, you know, you can pay your debt if you want. We don't tell people you don't, if you want to pay it, you can. But if you're not able to work and you can't work and for reasons that you just can't do it, you can stop paying these credit card debts. And you're judgment proof. They can't take anything from you. We talk about that on these videos, why that is. Even if you're sued, you're not going to have to go to court. We talk about that. We'll talk about it later. You're going to be fat. Sad that they don't know about Helps. That's why we ask our clients to share what Helps does with others. A lot of seniors need this help. Okay? So Mary asks, when a senior that was offered a loan to pay off debt and can no longer pay the payments after 3 months on Social Security and pension, do they have to keep paying? They knew the income. No, you can stop paying that debt. What are they going to do? The worst they can do is sue you, get a judgment. They can't touch your Social Security, can't touch your pension. It's protected in your bank account, as I explained. If you don't want to be harassed by them, they can be sent a cease and desist letter. You can roll in Helps. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter, let them know that your income is Social Security, can't afford to pay it. So Carol asks, what about student loans? Are we going to get notice of 15% garnishment? I'm 71, graduated in 2007, and bid on forbearance. Okay. Before COVID, Helps was involved in a lawsuit against the federal government, and there was a stay put in effect to stop the federal government from offsetting 15% of Social Security to pay a student loan. Now, if you owe a student loan, they won't sue you. The most they would ever do is send you a notice of intent to offset 15% of Social Security. We don't see that happening, It may start up again. Now, they may happen in some rare instances, and it may happen regularly, but uh, there is a what's called income-based repayment plan, where you can, if your income is low enough, you can get on a plan to pay as little as $0 per month on past due student loans. Um, so you shouldn't worry about these student loans. And are you going to get notice before they do that? Well, if you owed taxes, you would, and there's plenty of time to stop that. 15% offset for taxes. Um, you probably get a good idea that they're going to do that, and then call it. We can send you. We have an email on how to get on income-based repayment plan, but we don't hear of people calling us on the phone saying 15% of my Social Security is being taken for a student loan. Uh, they wouldn't touch your pension. They wouldn't touch your wages. We don't see them doing that. They don't sue. They can just, under the law, they can automatically offset 15% of your Social Security. But yet, like I said, I don't see that happening. It may start up, okay, and then we're going to be equipped to help people to tell them what to do about that, okay? Luz asks, thank you for assuring us. I'm very concerned about our future with Social Security disability. There's a guy on the YouTube that disability attorney keeps saying that Social Security is going to go broke in 9 years. Well, I guess if nothing happened, it would go broke. But do you really think that lawmakers are going to let Social Security go broke? Uh-uh. It is not going to happen. No. And they've been making adjustments over the years to keep Social Security solvent. What they're doing is, they're raising the age for which you can get full benefit, and they may do some other changes down the road. They may cut Social Security for really wealthy taxpayers. I don't know what they're going to do. Social Security is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. Okay, I know how Social Security was founded, and I know it's sometimes they call it the third rail of politics. Okay, what that means is, you know, the third rail in Europe, they have a lot of electric trains, and the third rail is electrified. And if you touch that third rail, if you touch it and you're grounded, you're going to die. You're going to get electrocuted. And so sometimes they call Social Security the third rail of politics. If you touch Social Security and you're a politician, you've got all the seniors voting against you. You're not going to get elected. That's why, I've heard our current administration repeat multiple times, Social Security is not going to be affected. You're going to get your benefits, blah, blah, blah. What they're looking for, I think, and it's got people in an uproar, is looking that people may be entitled to Social Security that aren't entitled to it, or they want to cut back fraud. And so people are thinking maybe sometimes that they're trying to cut Social Security for everyone, which isn't the case. So, trying to scare people about Social Security going away is wrong in my opinion. It's not going to go away. If Social Security went away, our whole democracy would be affected. I mean, there's just too many seniors that rely on it. It is not going anywhere. So please don't worry about that. So what's the age for a senior? I'm 61 and getting disability. I'm in debt. Bill's getting higher. Okay, this is a very common question. HELP stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors and Disabled Persons. It doesn't matter how old you are, okay? If you're getting protected income like a pension, Social Security, regardless of your age, you qualify for our help. We've got clients that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s. We probably have clients in their 20s that are on Social Security disability. So it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? Okay. Congress will wait till the very last minute and then act on Social Security. It seems like that's what it's been. Um, can I move to Africa with my Social Security? You bet. We got lots of clients that live overseas. You're going to get your Social Security. You're entitled to it. Yeah, there's different solutions to solve the problem, but it's a balancing act for politicians. They're very careful. They want to get reelected, so they don't want to tick too many people off. student loans are not a protected benefit any longer. Is that, what are you asking me, if student loans can be garnished? No, student loans can't be garnished. Okay. Thanks for your questions. So this guy contacts us from Pennsylvania, and he says, one credit card company has summoned me to court. I'm permanent disability. I get Social Security disability. I have no assets. I'm a low-income apartment. My Social Security disability covers my rent, my rental insurance, my electric bill, welfare gives me food stamps monthly. That's my only income, and I'm fighting cancer at this particular time. I have no assets except the bank account that my Social Security goes into. Well, we're going to be able to help that guy. I mean, it doesn't say anything about debt he owes, but if he owes debt, he doesn't need to pay it. If he wants our help, we can help him. That's what we do. Okay? We don't want you to worry. Okay. So here's a comment on one of our YouTube videos here. The person says, Eric, when a client sends you documentation of one's Social Security. So in other words, when we enroll someone, we enroll people over the phone. When you call helps, you're going to ask you some questions. Some people call us 2, 3, 4, 5 times before they decide to enroll. Some people enroll a year or more after they call us the first time. They finally realize they can't go on the way they're going and they need our help, and we're happy to help them. There's never any pressure to enroll in helps. So when you enroll, you give us the creditors you owe money to. We need the name, the address, and the account number. We don't need the balance. And then we're going to send. Now, if you have a credit card with a small balance you want to keep, you could still keep making that payment and keep that credit card, as long as it's not backed by a bank with whom you have another credit card you're not going to pay. So you still be able to keep that credit card. Okay. But one of the things we're going to ask you is, after you enroll, we're going to ask you to give us proof of your Social Security. You can fax that, text it, email it to us. Because sometimes a creditor will send them a cease and desist letter saying, don't bother this person. And then they'll write us back and they'll say, well, we want proof that their income is Social Security. And it's kind of nice to have that, to send them. Now, we don't need that to enroll you, but I'll read you what he says. When a client sends you documentation of one's Social Security, and when you contact the collector or creditors and let them know the client's income is protected, are you required by law to send them a copy with the amount, or do they take your word for it? They take our word for it, except once in a while they'll ask for proof, and that's why we ask you to get us a copy. Okay. But we don't need it to enroll someone. I said we don't need to send them a copy. Our letter is enough. However, when someone enrolls in helps, we ask for a copy showing proof of income. If a creditor asks for proof, we like to send that to them. One reason we like to send them to them, we think it makes it less likely they would choose to sue someone. Okay? It doesn't matter if they sue you anyway, they can't collect from you, but no one wants to be sued. So if it makes it less likely that they would sue you, that's a good thing. Okay? So another person contacted us from Pennsylvania. Says, I'm being sued by credit card debt. Do I have to pay the court costs? So maybe this person is thinking, okay, Eric says I don't have to pay the credit card debt. But what about these court costs? Do I have to pay them? The answer is no. Okay. See, the court costs are paid by the guy that sued you, that company. They pay the court a certain amount of money. And so they paid. And you don't owe the money to the court. Okay. Because the court's already been paid. The court costs are paid by the plaintiff, the person that sued you. And that's part of the judgment. And know that you don't have to pay that. They can't collect from you on that. That's not any different than the debt that you owe. A lot of people need your help, special needs and protection from predators and scammers. How would that be done with helps? Anything special or extra person can do for them. Get the word out about it helps. We'll talk. We probably know about more about seniors and scams than any other organization in the country, and I personally know about it because we hear a lot of that. And we'll talk to anyone, whether they're a member of helps or not, if they suspect they're being scammed. Someday helps will be a household word. It's kind of it's an acronym, help eliminate legal problems for seniors. You can easily remember it, helps. Okay, so someday everyone will know who we are. It hasn't happened yet. We got tens of thousands of clients, but I want millions of clients because there's that many seniors that need our help. So you can help us by sharing what helps does. Okay, telling people about it. There's almost a concerted effort by creditors, collectors, and even other agencies to withhold the information from seniors that their income is protected and that the creditor contact can be stopped. They hide it from seniors. Even the National Council on Aging that gets $50 million a year from the government, and their mission is to protect seniors, especially those that are suffering financially. Um, in their articles about seniors, they never tell a senior, by the way, your Social Security is protected. You don't need to pay this debt. Instead, they steer them toward debt management companies, which by and large will never tell a senior that their income is protected. And the AARP gives lip service to this stuff. Anyway. So where are we going? I got my papers delivered from the county. Their charge was $200. Then they sent me a default judgment, $100 or so in the mail. So is the county going after me? No. No, 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 no. No, the court costs are paid by the plaintiff, the person that sued you, like I just explained. Okay? I need to mute my phone here. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it. And it is bothering me. And I just did it. Okay. So, no, you don't have to pay court costs. Don't worry about that. I mean, anyone, if you have questions, you can always call and talk to us. You understand that. Okay. We got lots of paralegals available and attorneys that, help people. We're there for you. Gladys says, hello, I received a credit card debt court summons and was given 20 days to answer. Not sure what to do. Well, okay, if your income is Social Security and a pension and you owe the money, you don't need to do anything. Uh, the 20 days to answer is if you want to contest or fight the lawsuit. But if you owe the money, you don't need to contest or fight the lawsuit. If you do nothing, they're simply going to get a judgment, a default judgment. And it's kind of meaningless. You're judgment proof. They can't touch your Social Security. They can't touch your pension. It's protected. It's safe. Like I just explained, half of your Social Security or federal benefit deposit in your bank account is automatically protected in the event they were to try to garnish your bank account. Now, if someone sues you and gets a judgment, does that mean your bank account's going to be garnished? Possibly, probably not, because they don't even know where you bank. There's no place a creditor can go to find out where you bank unless they got that information from some other source. They can't go to a neutral site and find out where you bank. But even if they did, and they did garnish your bank account, your bank examines your bank account, and if it came from a federal source like Social Security, that account to which it's deposited is protected up to 2 times the amount you get each month without you having to do anything. So no, Gladys, you don't need to worry. You can call. So when it helps clients, we talk to them about their situation. We're going to ask if you've been sued, and then we're going to go over with it. We're going to go over that with you, explain why you don't need to go to court and why you're going to be okay. And you don't need to pay your other debt. And if you decide to enroll in helps, we're going to ask you to get us a copy of the lawsuit. We don't need all of it. Sometimes a lawsuit could be 15, 10, 20, 30 pages. Usually it's not that many, but it could be more than a number. We only need the first 2 or 3 pages. We need the name of the attorney and the case number and the address for the attorney, and the court. And then when you enroll in helps, we're going to send a letter to that attorney, let him know that your income is on Social Security and a pension. It's protected. You're not going to pay the debt. We understand they're going to get a judgment, and that's going to be it. Now, it is possible you could get some follow-up paperwork depending on where you live. And if you did that, we would be able to help you with that. That's what we do. We don't give legal advice, so we don't fight lawsuits with people. We don't need to. We don't represent people in court. Our clients don't need to go to court. Their income is safe. It's protected. What we do is we give legal information. why you don't need to go to court and why you don't need to worry. So we're going to answer your questions and be able to help you. Even if you get some follow-up paperwork, you don't need to worry. Okay, I don't know what to tell you, Jimmy. Um, so Geraldine, you don't need to worry about this other debt. Okay. Some people call me and they're worried about this thing or the other thing. Uh, but if you don't have to pay a credit card debt or other old debt you owe, then that money's going to be available for your needs. Okay. And if you do have cancer and if you do are sick, there is Medicaid that's designed to pay medical bills if you do have, cancer or life-threatening interest and you can't really afford to make the payment. There's Medicare when you turn, 66 or a little bit older, depend, or I should say 65. But then Medicaid is available for anyone almost of any age, to pay for medical bills. We don't want to put people out on the street that are suffering with it with a disease or they're sick. So Medicaid, if your income is low enough, you can qualify for Medicaid. Okay. Why are we seeing this? Yes, under current law, the federal government can garnish up to 15% retirement benefits to you default on your federal student loans. Well, okay, if the speed limit is 60 and you go 61, you can get a ticket, right? Will you get a ticket? The answer is no. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about things that there may be what the law is, but what happens in the real world. You know, I can't ever recall a pension ever being garnished for student loans. It doesn't happen. Okay, it doesn't happen. They can they can do an offset for Social Security of 15%, but like I said, I don't see that happening nowadays. It may start up, and then there's things you can do to get on what's called income-based repayment plan. But no, just because someone says something doesn't mean that it's true. Okay, like the person earlier who said, well, the Social Security is going to be gone in 8 years. Scaring people. It's not going to be gone in 8 years. The law will be, maybe if things went the way they would, but the law will be changed, things will be adjusted, so Social Security is going to be here. No, you don't need to worry about it. Um, they're not going to take money out of your pension. Oh, that's my friend in Kansas, right? Yeah. Judy asks, when adding a son to a house deed is the first step to take for that process? Well, sometimes people add, it depends on the state and depends on other facts, but if you have a modest home and, we don't give tax advice, but if you have a home that's in your name and you chose to add someone's name to the property, like a child, then as joint tenants with rights of survivorship, that means you own the property with your child. You own it together. That means if you pass away, the property would automatically go to your child. And there wouldn't be a probate. See, under a probate, uh, debt has to be paid before your heirs, your children, get anything. But if their name was on the title to the home with you, then when you die, it would automatically go to them. Okay? No debt would need to be paid. Now, if you added one of your kids' name to the property and then you later got sued, then there'd be a judgment. It could be a lien on the property, but when you pass away, that judgment lien goes away. Judgment is a lien on property you own. But if you die and you own it jointly with a child or a spouse, then it transfers to that child or spouse automatically. Then you no longer own property. You're in heaven. You're dead. Okay, and the judgment lien is no longer there. Okay, I have been a client with Helps for 3 months now. With Phil Tyrone, do we get to a prepaid debit card to get credit for it? Uh, you can get on his program and he goes over that with you. And I need to get him on the. I really need. I promise this week I will call him and we'll set up something soon to get him on here, okay, to answer some of these questions about Phil Tyrone. So what Miss H is talking about is, when I first started Helps back in 2012, the vast majority of seniors aren't worried about reestablishing their credit. If they call us and they're current on a credit card and they want to keep it at a smaller balance, you can keep that credit card as long as it's not backed by a bank with a bank that you're not going to pay. You could keep that credit card. But sometimes seniors, for whatever reason, want to reestablish their credit. And so a couple of years ago, I've known Phil. He has a program called 720 Credit Score, and he developed a program with Helps on how seniors can rebuild their credit. It's based on your recent credit history. And for clients of Helps that have been clients for over 90 days, we can send them an email and they can enroll in this program. It's like I think it's 6 videos. Also, it says 7 steps, but I think it's actually 6 steps. 7 steps to a 720 credit score for seniors. And we also have a video on our YouTube page that talk about that program. So this person contacts us from Texas. Retired and having difficulty paying back credit card debt. Continuous phone calls and emails from them. Well, that can be stopped, my friend. Call Helps. Get rolling Helps. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter, and the continuous calls and emails is going to stop. Okay. I'm a past client. You helped me in the past. I need help with debts that are the same ones that were listed on my account with you all. These debts have been charged off, but most over 5 or 6 year olds I haven't heard from any of them except for the last few days. None of the debts are on my credit program. I still have limited income and get Social Security disability before I'm disabled and need your service again, just in case this collector starts calling and pressures me to pay. I tried to be responsible now, but I need your help. Please call on the phone Monday or email at any time. Well, okay. When you enroll in Helps, you're a client literally forever. Okay. I mean, if you get a new collection notice from a new debt collector, see, sometimes if you owe a debt to someone, they're going to sell it to a debt collector. You get us that information. We're going to send a cease and desist letter to that debt collector. And then maybe 6 months or a year later, you might get a new notice from a new debt collector trying to collect on that same debt. They can do that legally. If that happens, you get us the new debt collector. We're going to send a cease and desist letter out to that new debt collector. In the interim, you can tell them that your income, Social Security, you're represented by Helps, give them our name and number, and hang up the phone. You don't need to engage in conversation with them. So, yeah. So we're going to ask you to, if you get a new notice from a new debt collector when you're a member of Helps, you can get that to us. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter. I'm being sued by credit card debt. Do I have to pay court costs? I think we already answered that one. The answer is no. Don't need to worry. Yeah. So this person contacted us from good old Texas. I would like to become a Helps client. Approximately $35,000 in credit card debt. 74 years old. I have watched several YouTube videos about your services, so somewhat knowledgeable about your services. So I'm going to call this guy back. He can stop paying the credit card debt. His income's protected. He doesn't need to worry. So here's another one. I'm 88. This person calls us from Florida and have debts that somehow I'm dealing with despite the fact that our only income is Social Security. I have a car loan that I don't understand. We're going to call this person back if we haven't already. Explain to them that, they don't have to pay this debt. We're going to talk to them about the car. So let's say you have a car and you're upside down on it, or you can't drive it anymore for whatever reason. I mean, if you have equity in the car, you could sell it. And what I mean by equity is if it's worth more than what you owe, you could sell it and get the cash. But let's say you owe more than it's worth. You can just stop making the payment on the car and let it go back. Eventually, they're going to repossess the car. I talked to someone today that had an RV that they couldn't afford to pay anymore. It's the same with an RV. You can stop making the payment. Eventually it'll get repossessed, and then they're going to sell it. Now, can you sell it? Uh, Not unless it's worth more than what you owe, because they have certain regulations that they have to sell it by auction. It has to be some type of public auction. They lose money by doing that, but that's the way they do it. So if they're going to sell it at a public auction and you end up owing an extra $10,000, whatever, you're going to eventually get what's called a notice of deficiency, which is a letter from the lender saying the balance that you owe. And if you're a helps client, you're going to get a copy of that to us. We're going to send a cease and desist letter out to that lender. They can't bother you. End of story. Don't want you to worry. The question about adding a son deed is where we go first to county. Well, first I've got to get the form. I mean, we have an email that explains it's called Protecting a Home for Children that got a link to a form. Uh, be a you know it's just a quick claim deed or a warranty deed or whatever type of deed where you deed the property to yourself and your son or your children as joint tenants with survivorship rights. That's not effective in all 50 states, but most states they can do that. Okay, so you can always call us with questions. We don't want you to worry. Don't want anyone to worry. Don't need to worry. This person contacted us from, I think, Maine. Um, they're saying, I need I need help to discharge my student loan due to disability related to cancer. I received Social Security disability since last June. I was misdiagnosed with something, uh, and he's got radiation treatments, etc. A lot of, if you can help discharge my student loans, it would, one credit card, it would be appreciated. Well, you may not need to worry about the student loan. They may not do anything, but if you're disabled, there's a process for you to get the student loans discharged automatically. We have an email that explains how you can do that. Okay? And it's pretty simple. We don't do it for people, but because it's too simple for you to do it yourself. Okay, so if you're medically disabled, you can get the student loans discharged, so you don't owe them anymore. Okay? Don't need to worry about it. Okay, so this is the guy that just, I can talk about some people here because no one knows who they are. So this guy on the comment from Kansas, where are you here? I've finally come to this, my note about you. I, I talked to a guy from Kansas. He was a real worrier, and I told him not to feel, he doesn't need to feel special. There's a lot of warriors out there. And I told him that's why Helps was, I do want him to feel special. In the sense, that's why Helps was founded to especially help people, seniors that worry. Okay? See, the magic about Helps is you can always call us on the phone. You don't have to, you're not going to get charged when you call us on the phone. You can call us every day if you want. Okay? Doesn't matter. Eventually it'll get through and you'll realize you're going to be okay. Now, sometimes I'll say you pick something else to worry about. So he was worried because um, he has two lawsuits and he had a car and a motorcycle, and he's worried they're not going to take your car. And the creditors do not go after your vehicles. Even if you have equity in the vehicles over and above the amount that's protected in the state you live, they just don't do it. Okay. And then he was worried about going to jail. I think he had talked to someone at the courthouse, and they said, well, if you don't do this piece of paper that you might get, you could go to jail. Okay. That was some clerk at the desk talking about something that could possibly happen, but I told him, he said, that's not going to happen. If you've got a piece of paper, you can get a hold of us. We're going to tell you what to do. No, you're not going to go to jail. There's no debtor's prison in the United States. So you don't need to worry. But if you do worry, pick up that phone and call. Okay, I'm retired on Social Security and a small pension. I'm being sued by EST Bank. I don't know who they are. They have subpoenaed me. Can they take funds out of my other bank that I do business with? I have direct deposit, no wages from a job. Can they also seize my car that I'm still paying on? It's a two, and I owe 14. They're not going to take your car, and you owe money on it. That's all the more reason why they're not going to take your car. And you said, can they take funds out of my other bank account that I do business with? Well, if it's a corporate account, no. That's if it's a corporate account, that's a separate legal entity. No, but if it's in your name, yeah, they could, and they did sue you and get a judgment. They could garnish that account, and there could be a problem there. That's why we tell our clients, if someone sues you, you generally should just want one bank account. That's the account into which your federal benefit, like Social Security, gets deposited, or VA benefit, or if you're a federal worker, your federal retirement, or if you worked for the post office, or if you worked for the railroad. Those are all federal forms of retirement. They're protected, can't be taken from you. Okay? So, no. If you and as long as you keep the balance in the account to which your Social Security goes less than twice the amount of what you get each month, then that sum's going to be protected automatically without you having to do anything. You get, you know, 2,000 in Social Security times two is 4,000 in the bank account is protected automatically. We go over this with you, and we talk about it in almost all of our videos about this stuff. Okay, so Mrs. H asked, or Miss H asked, when living in an unlimited homestead state, when exactly does that part mean? Is the amount of the home value or a certain amount? So, so what Ms. H is asking is, see, every state has uh, what are called exemption laws, which protect a certain amount of property from a debt collector getting at it. Okay, and then there's also federal laws that protect property. For example, there's a federal law that's effective in all 50 states that protect a minimum of 217.50 net per week in wages from garnishment. That's been around for a long time. Now the feds haven't changed it because I think one reason they haven't changed it is they tell the states, if you want to protect more, you have to pass a state law to protect that. So, for example, in Texas, Texas passed a law, they don't permit garnishment of wages. California protects, I think, around $600 a week. A lot of states protect more than 217.50. Okay, and then there'll be state laws that protect, so much equity in a car. You might protect $2,500 equity in a car. But once again, if you had a car that was worth 10,000 and you owed 2,500 on it, and you've got 2,500, you owe $2,500 on it, then you have $7,500 equity. You got $75 equity, $7,500 equity. And if the exemption is 2,500 in your state, that means you have 5,000 equity over and above the exemption for a car in the state where you live. Does that mean a debt collector is going to come take that car if they get a judgment against you? No. Is it possible for them to do it? In extreme rare occasions, they could. I never see it happening. If they were to ever do it, it'd cost them too much money and too many headaches. And if someone else was named on the title, they just don't do it for a lot of reasons. So Ms. H is asking, she's got a home and she lives in a state that has unlimited homestead exemptions, which probably is is Texas. It could be possibly Florida. Um, what that means is the amount of your equity is protected. I mean, if you owe money on the home and you don't pay the mortgage, then they can foreclose. But what it means is that if you go to sell the home, like for example in Texas, you know, you can get all the proceeds out of the home, even if someone has sued you and gotten a judgment. Okay, there's a process you can go through to get the judgment lien removed. Um, so it's the homestead exemption is the amount of equity you have in the home, which is the amount that it's worth less what you owe, that difference. Okay. Think about problems or unpleasant things that might happen in a way that makes you feel unhappy and frightened. Try not to worry. There's nothing you can do to change the situation. Don't worry. That's true. Sometimes I'll tell people, Jimmy, I'll say, imagine what's the worst thing that could happen if you're a senior and you owe debt. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, there really isn't a worst thing, but maybe the worst thing that could happen is they could file a lawsuit against you. I remember one time years ago, one of the attorneys that helps talk to me about, she joined a call with a particularly fragile senior with the creditor on the other line. And she explained to the creditor that it was a debt collector, how the senior's income was protected. And the debt collector said, well, what about if there is a judgment? Trying to scare the attorney for helps in the other. And the attorney simply said, we don't really care about the judgment because her income is protected. They can't take it. So if you're sued and they file a lawsuit, you don't have to go to court. You know, when helps clients are sued, get us the information. We send a letter to the attorney, let them know your income's protected. You're not going to go to court. We call you and explain why your income's protected, why you don't need to worry about it. End of story. Um, so no, you don't need to worry. So the worst thing is they're going to soon get a judgment. So what? They can't collect from you. Okay? You could have 100 different judgments. They can't collect from you. And then if you're worried about anything, you pick up the phone and you call. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that I want you to be sued. No, I don't, because you know, I don't want you to worry. If you're working after you turn 70, you never stop. Will Social Security increase? Good question. I don't think it does. I think it stays the same, but uh, I'm not sure if you still have to pay the. It's a good question. That's one I don't know the answer to. I don't think it does though. Maybe you're not required to pay, so maybe you are. I'll try to answer that question. That's a good one. Um, the thing is, the most important thing people worry about is that when you turn a certain age, then if you start getting Social Security at 62 and you start working, if you make over a certain amount, then your Social Security benefits are going to be lowered. But if you're over 66 and it increases a few months every year, then you can still work and you get unlimited amount of Social Security. I mean, you can get an unlimited amount of, of wages without your Social Security being decreased. Okay? So Paul asked the question that I'd never like to hear because it scares people. He says, what about a debtor's exam? You need a lawyer for that? If they ask if you have a car or home, can a judge take it? Judge can't take anything. The only thing a judge does is he just decides if you owe the debt. That's about it. It's up to the attorney to try to take money from you. He just signs orders. Judge doesn't, he's not a court enforcer to take money from you. So what is a debtor's exam? Well, if someone sues you and gets a judgment, in some states, there's a proceeding for them to ask you questions about your assets. A lot of states, that's called a debtor's exam. And it's a particularly scary word for a lot of seniors, but I tell seniors not to worry about it because You don't have to, we don't deal with it hardly ever. If you ever got a notice saying you were supposed to come in to go to court to answer questions, you're a member of HELPS, you get a hold of us. We're going to reach out to the attorney and we're going to say, hey, listen, here's proof their income is Social Security and here's a little pension. They can't pay this. Do you really want them to come in to answer questions when it's going to be a complete waste of time? The vast majority of times, they're going to get back to us and say, oh, no, that's right. Don't worry about it. Don't come in. Sometimes they won't get back to us. Okay. And, you know, yeah, we'd want you to go if that ever happened. But like I said, the chance of that happening is pretty remote. Sometimes I'll type a little email to a client and say, you just read this email to the attorney. What happens? You go to the courthouse, you go to the courtroom, and you'll sit in the courtroom, just hand it to the attorney, the email, print it out, and all it says is my only income is Social Security and a pension. Can't pay the debt. I don't have any other assets. End of story. That and attorney's just going to send you home. Okay. But what would happen? The worst thing, they put you in a room with the attorney. Judge puts you under oath, and then he's just going to ask some questions about your assets, but it's protected. You don't need to worry about it. The chance of there being a debtor's exam is minimal. On a very rare occasion, we'll try to reach out to an attorney that will go with one of our clients to a debtor's exam. But that usually it was someone that's really extremely fragile and elderly, but we almost can always get it worked out so there isn't a problem. Is not going to a debtor's exam a contempt of court? Yeah, that's one reason we always ask our clients if you ever get a debtor's exam to let us know because we want to know about that. If you don't go, then normally what can happen, the creditor could file another motion with the court asking to be found in contempt of court. And if you don't go to that second one, then there literally could be a warrant for your arrest issued. Now, it's not a warrant where they come out and search for you. Usually it's one where they stop you if you're in a traffic stop. But once again, I don't like to talk about it too much because it doesn't happen very rarely, and it just scares people, and they don't need to be scared. But no, if we always tell our clients to get sued, if you ever got a notice about a debtor's exam or a judge signed something to ask you to come into court to answer questions, we want to know about it so that we can help get it taken care of. So time is flowing. We do this for an hour and it's got 2 minutes left. I had one more thing to talk about it. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. So thanks for all your comments and your questions. If you're not a HELPS client, you can always call us on the phone, 855 HELPS US, 855-435-7787. We'll answer your questions. Um, if you're a HELPS client, you can always call and talk to us. Don't want you to worry. I'll be talking to you tomorrow at the same time. And everyone have the term that scares me the most, are pretty remote. Um, Always call and talk to us. You know, it's like sometimes, it's pretty remote that you get hit by a drunk driver going to Circle K at 10:05 p.m. on Friday night. It's possible, but you don't live your life worrying about that. And a lot of this stuff we talk about, the odds are about the same. Okay. Everyone have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. God bless. Bye.